Dr. Roberts, I love talking with you, and this interview could go infinitely in all directions. But if I may, I just want to digress. And, we've talked about the reality of racial segregation in the body of Christ. But it's also true, and I really could not escape thinking as you were talking the last few minutes, about generational segregation. When you said that young men and women going into ministry, so many of them bail out, 18,000 a year after their first assignment, and you said it's because they're not prepared. And then when you went to address preparation, you didn't talk about academics. You talked about spiritual values. You talked about humility. Which brings me to this. I think seminaries are doing a wonderful job educating our sons and our daughters. The program is good, the academics are great. But there's a piece that's missing. I'm not sure if it's the seminary's responsibility or somebody else's, but what we know for sure is that young leaders whose lives become enmeshed with an older mentor are far more successful and emotionally contented and well-adjusted. In other words, they deal with the vicissitudes and setbacks. Because I thought when you said, well, they burn out because things didn't turn out. Well, things didn't turn out the way they expected because I think their expectations were unrealistic, and their expectations are unrealistic because they never really spent real time with a practitioner, a veteran, and someone who knew. You obviously are someone who continually invests your life in the lives of younger people. Do you think this is something that people are getting, that older pastors understand both the privilege and the opportunity, but also the obligation, if you will, to reach out to younger aspirants to ministry and to invest their lives in them?
But that's an important part of preparation for ministry. As you know, before we had seminaries, that the students who want to go into ministry would work with an older pastor.
It's like an apprenticeship.
Right, an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And the seminary, in order to educate its students, has to have a relationship with a local church. Because the seminary can provide the academics, it can't provide the practical application piece. I'll be taking on a Gordon Conwell student for the next 5 semesters. And what I try to do is to give them a view of the entire ministry of the church. I just don't put them in a slot.
Right, not just preaching
right, or you work with the youth. But I want to introduce them to everything that I do in the community. If I have to attend some meetings in the community, if I'm going on hospital visitation, I'll take them to show them what I do. I will have them observe in a business meeting, take them to a deacon's meeting, let them see how I deal with situations.
Absolutely.
So you need the mentoring of someone who has been there before and has achieved a level of success in order to be able to do well when you get into ministry. It's important that you share your life with them. Let them know what makes you tick, some of the obstacles and some of the victories that you have experienced. And so it is almost like a father and son situation.
I agree, it is. It truly is. Is it your sense that your peers, your older brethren in ministry, do they have a heart for this? Are they open to this? In general, do you think it's something that a relationship like this is something they would welcome and make time for?
I think so. Even in the Black Ministerial Alliance, we were trying to get a kind of mentoring for the younger pastors coming in. A lot of the pastors don't have any relationship with the seminaries. So the seminaries don't know what these pastors can provide for them.
So that's an issue right there,
right.
The disconnect.
Exactly.
Between the practitioners and the trainers.
And so what I try to do is to introduce some of the seminary presidents and deans to the Black Ministerial Alliance so that they will get a sense of what we do.
Right. And just as we're coming to an end, is there anything, any thought you'd like to leave us with? Any challenge, any encouragement, anything that is on your heart that you'd like to share with our viewers before we come to a close?
But just to say how thankful I am to God for the privilege of serving Him, these years, both in a teaching capacity as well as in a pastoral capacity. That every day I wake up with a sense of gratitude to God. I never, throughout my ministry, get up a single day where I felt that I would rather be doing something else. I believe that this is what God called me to do, and I do it to the best of my ability, knowing that it's not something I deserve. It is just by His grace that I've been called, with all of my weaknesses and strange attitudes, that He still uses me, and that is the grace of God, that He uses us as we are. He takes us as we are and gradually transforms us into the kind of servants that He wants to use. So nothing that I've achieved I can take credit for. I was simply trying to be a servant, to do what He had called me to do, and in the process, other people recognized that I had made a contribution. So it's just a great opportunity for me in this latter phase of my ministry. I don't have that much longer to go. I am grateful for the wonderful church that God called me to, People's Baptist Church. They have to give me all the support that I needed and treated me well. So ministry has been a joy. For whatever reason, I don't have to fight some of those battles that some other people are fighting. There's a difference between the way the black church views its pastor and the white church views its pastor.
Yes.
And I know that it would be difficult for me to pastor some white churches. They view me as a hired servant, rather than as a person called, to lead, and who is responsible to God, not just to a deacon's board or to some other or elder board, but to God Himself, who gives us the vision of where He wants us to be.
Yeah. Well, once again, that just reminds me that is another way in which the black church more closely resembles the ethos of the historic church, the ancient church, than the average evangelical church does today. That was beautifully articulated, and it was great to hear. You have been listening to the Reverend Dr. Wesley A. Roberts. I hope you were listening carefully, because we heard some wisdom today. Thanks for being with us, Dr. Roberts. We greatly appreciate you. May God bless you in all that you do.